Welcome. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Cantor Shapiro. Shabbat Shalom to you.
Shabbat
Great to see
Shalom.
you. So nice to
Wonderful
be
to see
doing
you
this
too.
service with you. I hope everyone at home is ready for a beautiful service. I want to say a word about praying via live stream or via Zoom or via StreamYard or whatever platform you are using. It's harder than when we're in person. It's easier actually to be distracted when we're sitting on the couch or somewhere in our own home. And there are all these other things we could be looking at or doing without anyone knowing. I find it actually less distracting to be in the synagogue surrounded by people who are doing what I'm doing. So I'm just going to ask us all to make sure your phone is turned off so we're not checking our texts and emails during the service. Try to quiet down the house as much as you can. Get comfortable. And let's bring a lot of intention to our service tonight. This is going to be our last online service tonight and tomorrow morning. After that, we're going to continue to live stream services, but they will literally be live streamed from the Bima at whichever campus the service is taking place. So this is the last time you're going to see me sitting in the study at my home or any of our Cantors sitting in the quasi-studio study of their homes. The next time you watch us online, you'll be watching us live from one of the Bimas at one of our campuses, which is really beautiful and marks the end of an era in a way. Excuse me. Sorry.
Tight.
Thank you. And I don't think this should go unrecognized. What an enormous effort so many people who work at the temple have put forth in order to be able to produce these services. Not just our clergy, Don Levy, Ariel Sobel, so many people, Marielle, so many people have helped us. Jessica has helped us, and it's an amazing feat that we've pulled off for the past 16 months. I'm grateful that we were able to do it, and I'm grateful that it's come to an end. Let's begin our service. Cantor, what are we beginning with?
Well, it feels so good to be with you this evening as we welcome Shabbat, and with all of you who are joining us via Facebook or YouTube or our website. So let's start off with how wonderful it is to be with one another. Hine ma tov u'ma na'im. Hine ma tov u'ma na'im, shavet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'ma na'im, shavet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov, shavet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov, shavet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'ma na'im, shavet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'ma na'im, shavet achim gam yachad. We're going to join now together with lighting our Sabbath candles. There's a handoff screen that just took my guitar from me. My husband's sitting right here celebrating Shabbat with
You have a
me.
roadie. You have a roadie. with
I
you
do. That has been his role for many a year.
those of you who are lighting candles at home, please join us as we bring more light into the world with Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu להדליק ner shel Shabbat. And we join together in the Kiddush. May your week be full of sweetness, your Shabbat be full of sweetness. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
I don't know why, but I guess we're doing the short Kiddush.
I guess that's all. I was waiting. I don't know if you saw the look of expectation in my eyes.
It's like when our kids were little and we were around the Shabbat table, they rolled their eyes and said, "Can't we please do the short one?" And Dad always
they would
said,
have liked it if they were here tonight.
Yeah, they would be happy. Dad always said no. All right. Well, next week we're live, so it'll definitely be the long one. Tell us about Shalom Aleichem, which we're about to sing.
This is a beautiful setting of Shalom Aleichem that comes to us from the group Nava Tehillah, which is an Israeli group which has taken so many of our traditional texts and really just injected a beautiful new life into them through their settings, which somehow both seem to capture this chain of tradition, yet also feel incredibly vibrant, alive, and reflective of a really exciting Jewish future. So this is
old and new at the same time. Let's hear it.
Yeah. And this is a track from our wonderful Cantor Gurney. So grateful for him for providing this. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaShalit, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Boechem L'Shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Uni L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei HaMelachim,
In just a moment, we're going to sing Lecha Dodi together. For me, this always really, really marks the beginning of Shabbat, every bit as much as candles and Kiddush does. Lecha Dodi is an acrostic poem, and it's really a love song in a way because it imagines Shabbat to be a wedding, and with God, the groom, and sort of the Jewish people, the bride, and some people say the Jewish people, the groom, and God, the bride, because we welcome the Sabbath queen into our midst. And I've often felt that trying to explain what love is, to answer the question, what is love, is an incredibly difficult thing to describe and to answer. Essentially, we're asked to use words to describe something that is ineffable, that can't really be expressed in words. I think that love, what I do know, is expressed in action. I know Betsy and I have been married for 35 years, and I know that marriage is fundamentally about how you behave toward and with each other. It is about putting the other person's needs above your own. It's about empathy, and it's about laughter, and it's about joy, but mostly it's about a deep and abiding commitment to each other. And I think that's why the rabbis chose the metaphor of a wedding to describe the relationship between God and the Jewish people and the essence of Shabbat itself, because most of us think of Shabbat as a kind of a vacation, a mini vacation, an opportunity to withdraw and relax. But Shabbat also is about commitment. It's about changing our lives for 25 hours. It's about reminding ourselves and living in a way that actually allows us to live a seventh of our life in heaven. It is the sanctification of time. It is the sanctification of love. And with that in mind, as we sing Lecha Dodi tonight, let's think about really devoting ourselves to Shabbat for the next 25 hours, really devoting ourselves to the people we love, unplugging from the world in order to connect with each other. That's my hope. That's my prayer every time that we sing Lecha Dodi. So let's hold that close to our hearts as we begin Lecha Dodi.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat mekabela. 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 Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Hishmi'anu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad, u'shemo echad, L'shemu tiferet v'litehila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat mekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat mekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelecha, ki mekor haberacha, mehirosh mikadam nesucha, sof maaseh b'machshavat tchila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat mekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat mekabela. Hit'oreri, ki va'or kumi ori, uri, shir daveri, kevod Adonai alai אלייך נגלה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. בואי ושלום גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה, לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
Beautiful. Moves me every time. When I lived in Israel many years ago, I lived in a neighborhood that was mixed. It was both Israeli Arabs and Israeli Jews, and there was a mosque about a half a block from my apartment. And 5 times a day, I would hear the muazzin, the equivalent of a cantor in Islam, chanting the call to prayer. Before we pray, we call ourselves to prayer. We say, we're ready. Jews have an equivalent prayer called the Baruch Hu. It's our we're ready. We lit candles. We've said Kiddush. We sang songs of joy. We've welcomed the Sabbath bride. And the Baruch Hu is our call to prayer. We are ready now to praise God. We have prepared ourselves. So let's take a deep breath. Let it out. And we rise for the Baruch Hu.
Lai 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 Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach. HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Now that we've prepared for that moment to enter into prayer, let's just take a moment to listen to whatever we may find around us, whatever sounds we may be experiencing in our own homes, though we're separated and brought together by this screen. And noticing that whatever that sound is, God is within that sound. whether it is the voice of a baby or the sound of a siren or the sound of the birds that I'm hearing outside of my window here. And we join together with that notion that God is in everything that we hear for Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Avad.
Please join me from your home with the words of Ve'ahavta.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך. ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך. וקשרתם להיות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך. וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
And we continue with Mi Chamocha, bringing some joy. If it wasn't already there, hopefully it was, but bringing some joy right into this moment.
Yalla lai 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 yalla lai 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 yalla lai 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 yalla lai 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 yalla lai 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 yalla lai yalla lai lai lai. Mi chamocha vaylim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, norati lot osefele osefele. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים לפני משה. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים לפני מרים. זה לי, אנו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם לעולם ועד. יאללה לי 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 יאללה לי 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 יאללה לי 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 יאללה לי 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 יאללה לי 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 יאללה לי 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 יאללה לי יאללה לי לי. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך
In just a moment, we're going to pray the Hashkivenu prayer. This prayer is only said at night. As far as we know, this prayer is at least as old as the first compilation of prayers into a prayer book, which was in the year 860. This is at least 12 and a half centuries old. And in some ways, we are very different from our fellow Jews of 12 or 1300 years ago. This nighttime prayer was written during a time when the nighttime was far darker and felt far more dangerous and yet far more beautiful than the nighttime does for us. Imagine 12 or 1300 years ago, nighttime, before electricity. It was total darkness. There was no light pollution or very little. And in that total darkness, this prayer was written by people who felt both vulnerable and yet could also see the stars in a way very few of us in our lifetimes ever will. The stars, the moon, the quiet. So in that way, we're very different than the authors of this prayer. But in another way, I don't think we've ever been more similar, because this prayer is ultimately a prayer of gratitude for surviving vulnerability. Life 12 or 13 centuries ago was a life of almost constant vulnerability. We've come through an incredibly difficult and challenging time when, I'll only speak for myself, I often felt incredibly vulnerable the moment I ventured out of my home. So this is a prayer of awe for the beauty and gratitude for the protection that represent God. So as we pray the Hashkivenu tonight, let's really pause for a moment of gratitude for having survived those moments of great vulnerability and fear, and let it awaken us not only to gratitude, but to the wonder of the world again. Hashkivenu.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu L'Shalom, L'Shalom. V'ha'amidenu Shomreinu L'chaim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Amen. Shelter us beneath your wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us, God, wrong from right, O Adonai. Amen. Amen, amen. Amen, amen. Amen.
Earlier today, I was out in traffic for maybe only the second or third time since everything changed on June 15th. I was in Mid-Wilshire around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was maddening. It was absolutely maddening. And all I wanted to do was get home. I wanted to get home to the shelter and the peace and the quiet. And in a way, I think of Shabbat as coming home. Heschel, the great Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, who wrote the greatest book about Shabbat ever, it's simply called The Sabbath. He said that Shabbat is the art of abstaining from noisy acts. The art of abstaining from noisy acts. Shabbat is about the chaos we choose not to engage in. This section of our service, called the Amidah, most of it is silent. The first two prayers are chanted out loud, and then the rabbis created this oasis of silence in the middle of the service for us to practice the art of abstaining from noisy acts. We rise for the Amidah.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agi tehilatecha.
I would not say that the next prayer we're about to sing is my favorite, but I will say it is the most meaningful in many ways to me. I can't say it's my most favorite because it's a prayer we say because of a difficult reality, which is that there are people we love who are ill and suffering. And maybe that's related to the fact that it's also the most meaningful. Sometimes the most difficult things are the most meaningful things in our lives, even though we don't realize it while we're going through them. This is a prayer that we sing on behalf of people we love because we want them to know that no matter where they are, they're in our hearts. They're never far from us. And I think that helps them. I know that helps them. I know when I've struggled before and people have said they're praying for me, it mattered. It helped. It pierced the isolation, which is the most difficult part of any illness. It also helps us to pray for the people we love. It's one of the few both tangible and intangible things we can do to let people know we care. So to know we're cared about and to let others know we care about them is among the most beautiful of human endeavors and acts. And that's all encapsulated in the Misha Berach. If there's someone on whose behalf you'd like us to sing the Misha Berach tonight, I'd like you just to call that person to mind, see them, place them in your heart, say their name, and let's begin.
Misha Berach Avoteinu Mekor HaBracha Imoteinu. May the source of strength who blessed the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misha Berach Imoteinu Mekor HaBracha Avoteinu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Shabbat shalom again, everyone. Let's talk about this bizarre Torah portion of this week called Balak. It's one of only two in the Torah where there's a talking animal. In this case, it's a talking donkey. Let me just summarize very quickly the plot. There is a very paranoid, narcissistic king named Balak, and the Jewish people have moved in next door in his kingdom, in his territory, and he immediately becomes paranoid and worries that the Jews are somehow bad for society and going to overtake and subvert his reign in some way. And so, as was the custom back then, he hired a professional prophet to go and swear a curse upon the Israelites. During the time of the Torah, people really believed in the power of curses. I think many of us know a good Yiddish curse or two, whether in Yiddish or English. That's pretty funny. But people believed in the power of curses. And so this prophet goes off to curse the Jews once, twice, three times. And every time he fails because God kind of thwarts his plan. But that last time, the prophet, whose name is Bil'am, he looks out at the Jewish people and he starts to utter this curse. But instead of a curse coming out of his mouth, a blessing comes out. And it's a blessing we're all familiar with. Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov mishkenotecha Yisrael. It's the song that we begin morning services with. How beautiful are your tents, O Jacob, your dwelling places, O Israel. In other words, how can I curse these people? They're beautiful. So what happened here is something that I also think can happen in our lives, which is something we aren't able to do, don't do, or something we try to do and fail has the opposite effect of what we might think it would have. Shabbat is like that. I already talked about Heschel saying that Shabbat is the art of abstaining from noisy acts. We think that Shabbat would be created by things we do, the thou shalts, but there are very few thou shalts when it comes to Shabbat. Almost all of Shabbat is about the thou shalt nots, the things we shouldn't do, the things we should say no to. And so I just want to delve in now to this idea, which I think is a deeply Jewish idea. I think it's embedded in this Torah portion that by saying no to cursing, it turned into a blessing for the Jewish people. By saying no to technology, shopping, business, by saying no to all of those things on Shabbat, something beautiful is created in their absence. And I feel that COVID came to teach all of us that too. And that coming out of this pandemic, which we are now all emerging from, some more willingly than others. I already told you next week we'll be on the Bima and we'll be live streaming from the Bima. We won't be doing services from our homes any longer because we don't have to. During the pandemic, we all had to say no to an awful lot of things. My challenge, our challenge is, can we continue to say no to some of those things when it would be possible to say yes again? Which is another way of saying that it's a very powerful thing to say no. Because behind every no is a yes. Every time we say no to something, we are simultaneously saying yes to something else. So when we go out back into the hurry and the worry and the scurry of our pre-pandemic lives, will we have the power, the discipline that Shabbat requires? Will we have that power and that discipline in our daily lives? That power and discipline to know what not to go back to, what not to do. Because saying no to rushing around on freeways to meetings and appointments is simultaneously saying yes to a calmer, more home-based life with our closest family and friends. Saying no to countless and often silly social engagements with people who don't really matter all that much is saying yes to a night at home with a good book, a walk in nature, or time to meditate and enrich our souls. Saying no sometimes to the office and working late into the night. Saying no to suits and ties and uncomfortable dresses for others to see is saying yes to authenticity. It's saying yes to being comfortable with who we really are. And maybe most important of all, saying no to pretending we are fine when we are actually anxious or depressed or sad or lonely or troubled, is saying yes to reaching out for the help and the love that we all need so badly. What was supposed to be a curse turns into a blessing this week in the Torah. There are always blessings within curses. As we emerge from the curse of COVID into the blessing of normal life again, let's not completely emerge. Let's remember the power of no. Let's say no to some of the maddening parts of our lives that existed before so that we can say yes to a more meaningful, love-filled, laughter-filled, and beautiful life. Ma tovu, how good. How good that will be. Shabbat shalom, everyone. There we are. Cantor,
Shabbat
what
shalom.
do you hope to continue saying no to after the pandemic?
Oh, that's a good question. I hope to continue. Not to sound repetitive, but really the things that you mentioned are the things that I hope to say no to that to getting myself to places where it's counterproductive to arrive there in a state of duress when being at home would help me be actually more present. Right?
It's so counterintuitive, but so true that sometimes by being at home, we're actually more present. Yeah. Very true.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's hope everybody listening, everybody watching, all of us can remember the power of no, and that behind every no, there's often a very beautiful yes. Couple of very quick announcements. I already told you, and I'm telling you now for the third time, I think, because I'm so excited about it, that we're going back to our bimas and our campuses and in-person services with really no restrictions other than the fact that anyone who is not vaccinated does need to wear a mask. But other than that, we can sing and embrace and be together as we were before. I hope everyone's paying attention to your daily emails. We have lots of programs coming up over the summer. Please be sure to pay attention to your emails from the temple. Next week, our Friday night service will be at the Irmis campus. You're invited to attend in person at 6:00. You do need to pre-register just so we know that we have enough chairs set up for everyone. So go online, pre-register. Next week's service will be at the Irmis campus starting at 6:00. And you're also welcome to just watch it live stream at home. I want to thank you again, Cantor. This is the second time we've been together for a service. It's beautiful, and I'm so glad you're a part of the Temple family.
Thank you.
To Don Levy and your team, Ariel and Mario for helping us with our service tonight. And Shabbat Shalom to everyone. I hope you have a beautiful, beautiful Shabbos full of no's. So that it's full of yes to the beautiful things in your life. It's now time to transition, as we do in every service. Earlier today, I was at the cemetery to officiate at a funeral. And I mentioned toward the end of my eulogy that there's a Hebrew word for funeral that most Jews don't know. And that word is livaya. And livaya comes from the verb to accompany. That's how our ancestors saw funerals and death itself, that we're accompanying our loved ones to the next level of their existence. But of course, to accompany means also to be accompanied by. Our loved ones also accompany us, even when they're physically gone. They're in our hearts. They're in our minds. They're in our lives. They make us weep. They make us laugh. They make us who we are and who we'll always be. So we welcome them now into our minds, our hearts, and our souls as we enter into moments of Kaddish.
We begin now with the names of those loved ones of our congregation who have died during this Shloshim, this past 30 days. Valentine Amid, Roger Bairstock, Ruth Borden, Naomi Brennan, Nathaniel Friedman, Warren Allen Goldberg, Ben Kaplan, Joel Martin Karp, John Mills, Norman Saunders, Joni Seff, Dorothy Strauss, and Larry Weiner. We add to their names the names of those whose yortzites, the anniversary of whose deaths, were commemorated during this past week. Eugene Abrams, Beatrice K. Abramsky, Charlotte Adler, Peter Bach, Jean Barron, Ray Berelson, Joseph Bialik, Jacob Blatt, Saul Blonder, Bertha Hirschblum, Harry Bornstein, Harold Brandt, Leonid Brandsburg, Irene Broom, Harry Brown, Irving Cheslaw, Jerry Chisvin, Robert Deschelle, Elizabeth Doyle, Minna Ehrenberg, Julie Eisenstadt, Harry Feinstein, Jack Figlin, Miles Quentin Fitterman, Rose Freudenthal, Muriel G., Lloyd Gittleson, Barbara Goldschmidt, Joe Goldman, Sarah Gurney, Michelle Renee Hamoff, Louis Hakimi, Russell Nathaniel Head, J. Daniel Hertz, Helen Hockenberg, Michael Intriligator, Kayla Itkowitz, Sylvia Jacobson, Alan Kaplan, Hilda Kaplan, Madeline Kaplan, Benjamin Karen, George Kellman, Joseph Kelrick, Walter Klein, Earl Kluft, Max Kleinman, Bernard Kurtzman, Melbourne Levitt, Mildred Lewis, Beatrice Linton, Franklin Lepovsky, Lillian Lepovsky, Sarah Luskin, Albert Markinson, Jerry Markle, Mary Miner, Rose Miner, Selma Melvoin, Belle Marin, Sylvia Morris, Morris Motley, Myrtle Mullins, Irving Needleman, Alfred Ordover, Isidore Pastor, Albert McKelney, Melvin Peters, Tony Raymer Coleman, Robin Raymond, Donald Renetsky, Meyer Allen Rice, Stanley Robin, Madeline Rosen, Charles Royce, Julie Silverman Saxey, Katie Schechter, Ann Shore, Milton Sidley, Martin Small, Jesse Sobel, Jack Spector, Bobby Stern, Henry Sugarman, Sherwin Swartz, Fred Tarter, Harry Tischerman, Rochelle Waysam Barish, Louis James Uyghur, Dora Weinstein, Paul Weisberg, Claretta White, Samuel Zimmer, and Arthur David Zuckerman. We add to their names the names of those we do not know, but to whom we are deeply grateful. Those who have died defending the United States of America and the State of Israel. The innocent victims of senseless terrorism and tragedies all over the world. And everyone who has no one to say Kaddish for them. We take them all as our own as we rise now to recite Kaddish.
Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. Be'alma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei. V'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael b'galau v'zman kari v'imaru. Amen. Yehe shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam v'almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal shmei d'kutsha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran ba'alma, v'imeru. Amen. Yehi shalama rabba min shamaya. V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imeru. Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav. Uyaseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imeru. Amen.
Amen.
Oh, say shalom bimromav. Say shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'imru. Amen. Yaseh shalom. Yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom. Yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom. Yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom. Yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom. Yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, everyone. Have a beautiful, beautiful Shabbos and a beautiful weekend. Shabbat shalom. Thank you again, Cantor Shapiro.
Thank you, Rabbi Leader.
You're welcome. Shabbat shalom.